What's up, my guy Gene? Today we're doing
book review.
What's up, guys? Today we're going to be going over some study material. Personally, my favorite study material from the N5 all the way up to the N1. I'm going to be giving you some of my thoughts and opinions on why it's good and why it's bad and why maybe some of it needs a little bit of improvement. This is just my honest opinion on it. It's some people like different kinds of books. Personally, I like these hard textbooks, and they give you just a little bit more information than maybe like Duolingo or those kind of things. I started off learning at a Japanese language school, and so a lot of the stuff that we learned was going to be through a traditional textbook. So that's why I personally prefer that. But I'm also going to be going over not only just textbooks, but some like novels and other things as well. Starting off with, we're going to review manabou nihongo. Personally, honestly, it's kind of trash. There's just not really good definitions for each of the grammar. The study section has about 4 to 5 grammar points, but each one is just not very effective. It just tells you what the grammar is similar to, but not actually what the grammar is. And there's no examples or anything. It's just kind of trash. The readings on it as well are not very good. Just a little bit too easy. I went through all of it and I could just skim through. Didn't really learn a lot. It has all the vocab definitions at the bottom as well. Or actually not even vocab definitions. It's just the vocab at the bottom. So it doesn't even tell you what those words are. I just didn't really enjoy this book. I went through it in like a couple days. Just honestly, just not a very good book. It's just something that isn't really just beneficial to your study. Honestly, it's just not a very good book. So we're gonna put in the trash. For novels, we have Tsumi no Koe. Again, just another one of those books where it's just, it's a little bit too thin. You could probably read it in like a couple days, maybe a couple hours, honestly. There's also not a lot of kanji in it. Honestly, I was hoping for more, but it really babies you. There's too much furigana on here. Honestly, it's one of those things where you think it's gonna kind of bring you up to that next level, and you start reading it and you realize, I'm gonna get more stupid just by reading this. They really rely on a lot of katakana. They use too many loan words. I think the author thinks he's like a genius by using all these katakana words. I don't know. It's just not my cup of tea. You can kind of just skim through the 600 pages in just a couple hours. I was really hoping for something that at least had 3 or 4 chapters. This one has 15. Just not big enough. The author just kind of sometimes goes on a ramble and just kind of talks nonsense. It actually stops being Japanese for a little bit as he goes on those rambles. I think it turns into Korean for a little bit. I don't know, I can't read Korean. He has points where he just keeps going on and on about the same thing. He says like chinko like 30 times in one sentence, and it's just the same word repeated over and over again. And he doesn't stop until he hits the next page, which also has the same word for the next page as well. Overall, I think this book is just too easy, way too short, and just overall just not written very well. So again, I'm gonna put it in the trash. Bumping up to something that's a little bit more difficult, we have the try books. This one's a little bit better than manabou nihongo. It has some examples. Honestly, it probably does rely a little bit too much on furigana. It's a little bit too thin in my opinion. There's not that many grammar examples. There's not that many grammar points. I think it's only like 140 compared to maybe like minna no nihongo's 50. I don't know. It also has like too much English in it. It's just kind of like English everywhere. I flip the next page and it's pretty much just all English. It also has too much Japanese. I flip the next page, it's just all Japanese. I like what it's trying to do, but honestly, again, it's just another one of those books that just don't really challenge you. Again, I wish there was just a little bit more variety. It only covers low levels. Doesn't have anything past maybe like N4, N5. I don't know really what they're doing. It says it's N1. It's not really. Can't really read it. It does have some readings, but the readings are a little bit too short. In those readings, it actually does have the grammar that you will be studying inside that little paragraph. But again, that paragraph is just a little bit too short. It's just not long enough. It also doesn't have English translations for each of the sentences that it makes. They're all just in Japanese. And so I can't tell if I'm reading this right or wrong because there's nobody to correct me or to tell me exactly what to do. Because I honestly can't figure anything out unless somebody tells me exactly what to do and what to read. I give the try books maybe like a 5 out of 4. But you guessed it, putting in the trash. All right, for this next book, we have Oriento Jiko Jisatsu Jiken. Again, this one's kind of a strange one. It started off as a Japanese book, then it was turned into English, and then it was turned back into Japanese. and then it was turned back into English again, and that's when I started reading it. Kind of strange on this one actually is the fact that for some reason there's English in this as well as Japanese. I don't know why. It kind of distracts you from the Japanese. You're just trying to read it, but then you switch to the next page and it's English. And you're like, well, how am I supposed to continue my Japanese studies if it's in English? And then so I gotta switch from Japanese back to English, and then go back to Japanese again, and then back to English, and back to Japanese, and it just gets really confusing. I really wish they would just have it either all in Japanese or all in English, because it's really hard for me to flip between the two. This is another one of those books where it's just too short. Honestly, it doesn't have that many pages, maybe like 400. And you know, there's so many other books that you can find that are, you know, just have a lot more substance to it. The plot is actually pretty interesting. They're on this train, they gotta figure out who did the murder, and you know, the whole time I didn't know. Even after they told me who it was, I was still kind of in doubt. Maybe denial. We're not really sure. Besides the fact that half of it is in English, I still think it's a good Japanese study material. You just gotta kind of get past that point. I would recommend it for somebody that's maybe around the N5 to N1 level. This one is probably going to miss the trash and then bang off into another trash. All right, so this is where we get to the real meat of the study material. So we got Genki 1 here. And again, if you're starting to get past that beginner level and you really wanna kind of get into like an intermediate, upper advanced, this is the book for you. It's a little bit daunting at first, but once you kind of get used to it, it's pretty okay read. There's a lot of Japanese in here. It's a lot more than I was expecting. Honestly, it's kind of hard for me to read. It's a little bit hard to understand. There's some big long passages in here. There's tons of kanji with no furigana. They barely use any katakana, just a little bit of English romaji. Honestly, it's probably like one of the better study materials here. If you're really trying to get into intermediate, maybe advanced, this is the perfect book for you. It's pretty thin, but it will take maybe like 1 to 2 years to finish it. You just kind of gotta trudge through that. On the back of the book, it has kanji that you should study. It also has words inside each chapter that you can learn. So really, it's kind of all-encompassing. It has everything from vocab to kanji to grammar to life goals and life skills. It also has therapy sessions in the back, and it has sweet nothings that it slowly says to you as you flip the page. At the very end of the chapter, there's a love note for specifically you that actually has your own name specifically right at the bottom. Don't know how they do it. It's kind of creepy actually, though it spelled my name wrong, so I don't know how accurate that is. If you're trying to get into like the N2 level, this is kind of like the perfect study material for that. They just released a new version for deaf people, which I think is perfect. It's just a bunch of blank pages. I would give this book 1 out of 2 Genkis, and I probably accidentally stumble and then make it into the trash. For our next material, we have Droppu. It's actually a pretty interesting read. It's about these middle schoolers that are kind of like almost on a gang. So it has this like weird atmosphere where they're still middle schoolers, but they kind of act differently. They all look like way older than they really should be. And the person that's actually in high school looks like the youngest one of them. The way that they're introduced, it's like they're like ichinensei, ninensei, like 1 year and first year, second year. It has just an interesting concept. There's a lot of kanji in this book, barely any furigana. There's actually not a lot of pictures on here. It's mainly just words. It's almost like a novel. A graphic novel, of course. It's a decent length. It's about 1 manga volume of length, which is kind of weird because it's not a manga volume, it's a manga volume. If you really want to get past that initial step where you go from just like regular light novels and long novels to like something that's a little bit more typical and kind of like news articles, these manga are the perfect option because they not only have words, but they also have interesting pictures as well, which really enhance what is on those words, because a picture is worth 1,000 words. And so if you read a picture, you're getting 1,000 Japanese words directly into your brain. I would rate Droppu as middle school out of high school. All right, for my next book, this one's kind of one of my favorites. It's Everybody Poops. When you start to run out of material because you've just reached such a high level of proficiency, Everybody Poops is like the perfect book. It also has something for everybody. The grammar examples are just kind of perfect. It really goes through everything from upper advanced all the way to lower advanced. The book length is just super long. It has tons of resources. You can go all the way to the back of the book. There's just more material just for you to study on top of that. Honestly, the lettering on it is just pristine. They really chose the perfect font. Every page is just a masterpiece. There's just plenty of pictures just to kind of really bring home that this is a novel worth reading. And again, those pictures every single one of them, 1,000 words. It's just like speed reading. You read a single book, a very long book, almost like 30 pages, I would say. And maybe it takes you a couple years to read it, but you know, you'll get eventually. But every single page is that 1,000 words. So after the end, you're learning 30,000 words. Overall, Everybody Poops is just, it's kind of like a classic. I would say it's a masterpiece. If you really want to just bring home your Japanese down to like a native level, this is the perfect book for it. The last study material for Japanese that I have on my list is really just the pinnacle of Japanese study. It kind of encompasses everything that you're trying to strive for, be it you know, native fluency, be able to communicate properly for a job, or maybe you're trying to go to school for Japanese. If you want to just kind of surprise people with your Japanese and sound like an izakaya. If you want to do one of those videos where it's white guy surprises people in Japanese with perfect Japanese in Japanese, it's just the perfect book for it. I read one of these chapters probably every single night before I go to bed. It's really just a good like study material right before you go to bed as well. You can read it anytime, from like morning down to morning. It doesn't really matter. Nobody's gonna judge you, except for maybe me. And this book is, of course, Where's Waldo? When somebody asks me, hey, how do I get, you know, better at Japanese? How do I start? But like, well, you can't really start with this because it's a little bit overload, honestly. But once you reach it, and you'll know, you gotta open up that book of Where's Waldo. When you start searching for him and you don't see where he is, and you're like, oh, this guy looks like him, and it turns out to be some penguin in a striped shirt. You're like, oh, damn it, it's the penguin again. That's when you really know that your Japanese study has reached its pinnacle. Honestly, if you're trying to go for the N1, this is the perfect book for that, because it really just, it has everything the N1 needs. It has pictures, and Waldo. If you're trying to get your listening skills better as well, the book, when you open it up, has like an echolocation, like kind of like a bat sound that kind of just goes straight into your ears. And you may not be able to pick it up, but it's gonna surround probably about 50 bats in your area. If you just feel like you don't have enough bats in your life, honestly, this book is perfect. Every time I have doubts about like, am I really gonna make it? I just open up Where's Waldo again, and like, I've made it. I would give Where's Waldo a found out of missing. All right, guys, so that's my recommended study material. If you have any questions in the, you know, about like where should I start or which book is better than the other, you can just leave a comment down below. I'll just give you some more information about it. Well, anyways, guys, that's just my opinion, but actually, I'm actually blind. Had a good time making this video. I really hope that you take this information seriously, and it really helps you in your Japanese study. I know when I first started off, I needed a lot of help, and I really needed a video like this, and that's why I'm making this video. So until next time, I guess I'll see you later. I got some videos maybe here and here. Until next time, guys, see you later.